Clearly, he's plain speaking, as people have described it. But one wonders if it really this is what Rishi Sunak needs when he's trying to gather the troops ahead of a general election.
I think exactly. I mean, I think it'll certainly help a few of the voters. I think it will raise some support amongst the grassroots of the Tory party. But it's essentially what he's proposing is an unconscionable leap backwards in terms of in terms of human rights. But it's also shows that there's divisions because Rishi Sunak has already stamped it down and said it's not part of current Conservative Party policy. And of course, the studies around the world. I mean, we only need to take the example of America, for instance, in states that have the death penalty for crimes such as murder, the crime rates are roughly the same. So it's also proven that it's not a deterrent. So it's a very strange time to bring something up. And I think when the Tory party should be getting together and showing a united front, to have divisions over such very, very important points is a concern.
Yes, and of course, people have pointed out that this position is not a cabinet position, it is a party position, however, of some seniority. And of course, the Prime Minister having to take time out then on his visit down to Cornwall to actually, as you say, point out that's not my view, that's not the government's view, and indeed perhaps not the view of the majority of MPs who have voted against this on quite a few occasions in the Commons.
Well, absolutely. And I think, if that's his view on certain areas, for instance, the death penalty, what are his views on other areas of human rights? And obviously, whilst it might not be a government position, it's a very influential position in the Conservative Party, which obviously is very, very important. And I think it's very concerning if that's the way that the Conservative Party, the leadership is starting to move to.
He said in this interview with The Spectator magazine, nobody has ever committed a crime after being executed. You know that, don't you? 100% success rate. But perhaps one reflects on previous miscarriages of justice, the Guildford 4, the Birmingham 6, of course, in terms of the IRA terrorism, where, in fact, they may well have faced the death penalty, and yet they were subsequently proved to have been victims of miscarriages of justice.
Well, absolutely. And that's one of the main arguments against the death penalty. And it's, you said earlier on that he's plain speaking. I mean, I would say grossly uneducated in that area, because as you've just said, many people in terms of the death penalty, both when we had it in England and elsewhere around the world, have suffered the worst miscarriage of justice and had their lives taken off them by a government wrongly.
The additional comment that's being quoted, and this is, of course, again, relating to your position as a human rights lawyer, in terms of the migrants, and clearly the government is struggling to try and find an answer to this, where he said they should be returned the same day to where they came from on a Royal Naval frigate or whatever, and sail it to Calais, have a standoff, and they just stop coming.
Again, I mean, another absurd comment and an uneducated one, because at the current law, that's just not how things can work until you change that law. It doesn't protect the human rights of the genuine asylum seekers. And at the end of the day, that is not what the Navy is for. So I think, I think we've probably got a lot more nuggets of wisdom, perhaps, and saying that with great sarcasm from this gentleman to come.